Lamar Jackson is looking for a bonus to his career, which would be a world championship because he's been close, hasn't ever gotten there. And in talking in minicamp, he says that he's still haunted by the team's playoff loss to the Bills. He says, quote, "We're going to bounce back, and when we come back, we're going to have vengeance on our mind." Ravens, of course, lost to the Bills 27-25 in last year's divisional playoffs. And Jackson committed 2 turnovers in the first half, but then led his team to within 2 points late in the game. Mark Andrews drops that 2-point conversion. And this was interesting, too. Lamar says he never really gets over any losses. Direct quote, "I got losses from youth football that still haunt me." It's an interesting question as to whether Lamar Jackson has underperformed in the playoffs. A lot of people feel that way. I know Double D feels that way. He says it every year. Lamar Jackson's going to choke. It's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. Then we had Jason Lockett-Fora, our Odyssey NFL insider, come on last week and said, if you look at last year, he actually put his team in a position to win it. Didn't work out in the end. What is your view of Lamar Jackson, and how badly does he need a Super Bowl?
Well, I think he definitely needs one, just because that's one of those legacy things. And he's the only 2-time MVP of the league to not win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, Lamar Jackson is still a young guy. Remember when he came into the league, he was pretty young. He's 28 years old. Yeah. So, I think he still has plenty of time, especially with the way that today's quarterbacks are playing, where, you're still pretty solid up into your late 30s. Mm-hmm. And I understand that the way that Lamar Jackson plays, maybe he's not built for that. But we've seen over the past few years that he has developed more into a passer as opposed to just a runner, because that was the narrative when he came into the league. So I think he still has plenty of time. And the Ravens are a good top to bottom franchise. It feels like there are very few years where they're completely out of it. Some of those years where Lamar Jackson was hurt during the postseason, because that's a thing as well. Sometimes Lamar Jackson just hasn't been healthy for, the later half of the season. So he hasn't even had the opportunity in some of those years to reach his full potential. But what the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes have done in the AFC, it has made a lot of quarterbacks probably feel haunted. Look across the way at Josh Allen. He probably feels a lot of these same feelings. They probably need a support group for quarterbacks in the AFC these days, simply because it is so hard to get past the Chiefs. And maybe the reign of terror could be over, because obviously the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl this year. But you get what I'm saying. When you have a generational quarterback and a generational team like the Chiefs, a lot of teams are going to be hurting from the side effects.
It's true. Although I will say, if we're talking about Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, it's definitely Lamar who needs a Super Bowl more, because the Ravens have put more talent around Lamar Jackson. And if you look at playoff performances over their respective careers, Josh Allen has done everything. The Bills just put everything on his back and say, okay, go win this game. And there are times when he just hasn't gotten on the field because the Chiefs want a coin flip, or he's done everything possible, and the Chiefs are just too good, or have been too good in the past. And you look back and you say, Josh did everything he could. What more can he do? And then conversely, you look at Lamar Jackson and you say, okay, you've been pretty good, but you've made some crucial mistakes, or you haven't been the same player that you were during the regular season. And also it gave you Derrick Henry. So we put more tools around you, and you've underperformed relative to what we've seen previously. So I feel like, as far as reputation goes, Lamar Jackson definitely needs a world championship more than Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that fact. But legacy is a funny thing, because I feel like over the years, nuance is going to be lost. And nobody's going to sit here and, provide the color, especially people who are not alive during those days. They'll just say, hey, these guys have not won a quarterback. What was wrong with them? Because even look at, I'll take this example of Joe Burrow last year and the MVP type numbers that he put up. You look at the record of the Bengals last year and they didn't even make the playoffs. Is Joe Burrow really that good if he couldn't even will his team to the playoffs? And if you watch that season, you say, yeah, he is that good. The defense was just historically bad. But do you get what I'm saying about legacy and how things are kind of lost in translation? Because at the end of the day, most of the history books and the record books, when you can only say like one thing about a quarterback or a year in the NFL, it's who won the Super Bowl, and it's not, hey, but this guy was really close.
I agree, but when it comes to personal reputation, I think there are lines that are definitely drawn and different storylines that sort of affect how people are viewed in the rearview mirror. Like Dan Marino is a great example. Nobody will ever say, okay, he just couldn't get it done. He couldn't win a Super Bowl. It was, okay, he didn't win one, but he just didn't get many chances. He got one chance, and it wasn't his fault. It was, his second year in the league or rookie year in the league. He just never had the teams around him. Josh Allen has the talent, but they asked him to do so much, and he ran into the Chiefs. With Lamar, it's, when it came playoff time, they didn't really get it done. Joe Burrow kind of gets that exception, too. Ultimately, the big picture, of course, you got to win a title. You got to win a Super Bowl. If you win a world championship in any sport, it elevates your resume. It elevates how people look at you. Also, at the same time, there are myriad players who have the opportunity, who have the chances, they take advantage of those opportunities, but ultimately they just don't have the talent around them, despite their best efforts. And so I think that's where it's different with Lamar Jackson, where you've got the talent around you, but when it comes to you in particular, and he was better last year, even in that loss to the Bills, overall, over the scope of his career, he's had some really letdown performances where the other guys haven't. It's just the team wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, when people are looking at this 30 years from now, most people will not have the nuance and look at these things. That's all I'm
saying. Maybe so. Well, the Ravens are trying to improve their team, and they did so yesterday by signing Jair Alexander, formerly of the Packers. So it's just a one-year deal, $6 million. Really no risk there. So he gets to play with Lamar Jackson. They played together at Louisville. And Alexander is one of those, you're not only paying him $6 million. The ceiling is there if he can stay healthy. That's the real key. He's 28, an All-Pro in 2020 and 2022, but he's only played in 34 of a possible 68 games since the start of 2021. I think the bigger story here is that the Ravens' pass defense was ranked 31st in the NFL last season. So if you're talking about putting a complete team together, and certainly the Ravens had the talent to win it all last year. I mean, even right now, they are the second favorite to win the Super Bowl. They're 7-1 behind the Eagles at plus 650. Bills, by the way, plus 750. So these teams are right there together. But this is, I think, one of those signings that potentially could be a boon for you if it's a big if Alexander can stay healthy, because this is the one area that Baltimore really needed to improve upon.
Oh, yeah. Like from a prop standpoint, this is why you picked opposing receivers and you said, hey, I'm going to take the yardage prop because this secondary is absolutely terrible and they're going to be playing in a shootout against the Ravens. So obviously this is an area of need, and they put a big name on their roster here. Again, it's going to be if you can play all of the games. But this is a huge ad for a good Ravens team that, has a very good base. And especially in today's NFL, where passing is the name of the game, with the exception of maybe Saquon Barkley, you got to be able to defend the pass. So the Ravens are at least trying to fix that problem.